We have the great privilege to have with us this afternoon a very distinguished personality. U.S. Congressman Al Green from Texas's 9th District is here. We would like to invite him now to make a few remarks about this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I am so honored to be with you today, and I'm honored to say to you that I was moved that the words said prior to my coming up were with reference to Haiti. And I want you to know that I greatly appreciate what's being done here. And I think that we did not give a proper expression of appreciation for what is being done to help those in Haiti. So if you would, let's give a big expression of appreciation to Raindrop so that they can know that we really care. Please, if you would. I want to thank all of the persons who are associated with this great event. I know that there are many, and I shall not try to name the persons, but I do think it appropriate that I say to you that I appreciate what you're doing and what you will do in making a difference in the lives of others. So I will ask for one more applause, and then I'm going to go to my message. Please give them an expression of appreciation. Those who have made it possible for this event to take place. Dr. King reminded us, and it's appropriate to talk about him because, as you know, the 15th of this month, we celebrated his birthday. But he reminded us that life is an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. What impacts one directly impacts all indirectly. And I bring this to your attention because I had an opportunity to step in this morning to the Poverty and Social Justice seminar. And I'm sorry I did not hear more, but I do want you to know that we do have a great challenge before us. It is a great challenge, but it is a challenge that we all have to embrace and accept because of the connectivity that we have with each other. We can no longer assume that that's someone else's problem. And let me just share with you the problem that we have to grapple with. In this country, we have a circumstance wherein the heads of major corporations make more in one day than a minimum wage worker makes in a year. And this head of the major corporation has reason to envy the hedge fund manager who makes more in 10 minutes than a minimum wage worker makes in a year. And the hedge fund manager does not pay ordinary income tax on it. He pays 15%, or she, 15% capital gains. By way of example, a hedge fund manager received a $3 billion compensation package. $3 billion. $3 billion. It would take a minimum wage worker 198,000 years to make what this manager made in 1 year. I do not oppose people making money. I do not. But I do say to you that the gap between the haves and the have-nots is expanding. That those who are blessed are a blessing. You are to be a blessing to others. And I say to you that we have a duty to remember those who are less fortunate. And I think that that's what this event is all about, the social justice aspect of it, making sure that we do not forget those who are left behind. On the question of Haiti quickly. Haiti did not become a crisis, a country in crisis, when the 7.0 earthquake hit. That exacerbated a circumstance that already existed. The per capita income in Haiti prior to the earthquake was $400 per year. In Haiti, prior to the earthquake, more than 50%, about 54% of the people were living off of less than $1 per year. In Haiti, prior to the earthquake, more than 75%, about 78%, were living off of less than $2 per year. In Haiti, prior to the earthquake, 80% of the people, 80%, were living in poverty. In Haiti, prior to the earthquake, the average lifespan was 52 years. In Haiti, prior to the earthquake, they had something known as a hunger season. From October to February, there was a hunger season. I want you to know that it's easy to be your brother's keeper when you don't have to keep your brother. It's easy to be your brother's keeper from afar, but when your brother is living just off your coast and living under the circumstances that I just called to your attention, you ought to give more attention to your brother. Life is an inescapable network of mutuality tied to a single garment of destiny. What impacts those in Haiti directly impacts all of us indirectly. What impacts people who are impoverished around the world impacts all of us. And as the lone superpower, it is said, and I am a representative of the superpower, maybe it's not the lone. We can debate that. The great challenge that we face is not whether we can police the world. The great challenge that we face is whether we can bring peace to the world. And this is what we have to marshal our forces for. This is what we have to focus on. Peace for humanity within our lifetimes. I leave you with another quote from Dr. King. He also reminded us that we must learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or we will perish together as fools. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you very much. The Gulen Institute is now honored to present to you this afternoon Dr. Robert Pape. Dr. Pape is a professor of political science at the University of Chicago, specializing in international security affairs. His most recent book is Dying to Win, The Strategic Logic of Suicide Terrorism. His other publications include Bombing to Win, Air, Power, and Coercion in War, and numerous articles in peer-reviewed journals such as Why Economic Sanctions Do Not Work, the determinants of international moral actions, the strategic logic of suicide terrorism, the true worth of air power, and soft balancing against the United States. His commentary on international security policy has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, The Republic, Boston Globe, Los Angeles Times, and Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, as well as on the NewsHour with Jim Lehrer, Nightline, and ABC News, CNN's Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, and Lou Duff, Fox's John Gibson, CNN International, and National Public Radio. In recent years, he has spoken to numerous universities, many political and government agencies, and many policy, journalists, and community groups. Before his move to Chicago in 1999, he taught international relations at Dartmouth College for 5 years and air power strategy for the USAS School of Advanced Air Power Studies for 3 years. He received his PhD from the University of Chicago in 1988 and graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from the University of Pittsburgh in 1982. His current work focuses on American grand strategy, causes and solutions to suicide terrorism, the logic of soft balancing in a unipolar world, and the limits and advantages of precision air power. Dr. Pape joins our Dialogue of Civilizations platform this afternoon to share his insight into occupation, violence, and religion, a look at the dynamics of conflict in light of the Afghanistan troop surge. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Robert Pape.
Thank you. It is a true honor and pleasure to be here. I believe very much in the work of the Gülen Institute. I've been to Turkey. I've seen the work there. I appreciate Ali inviting me. I appreciate my friend Kamal being here. This is really quite a pleasure every time I see him. Thank you, Congressman Green, for staying for a few minutes. And let me just say a word about something that recently happened. Obviously, you know they believe in the power of dialogue. Well, something I've recently been involved with has shown me the power of dialogue with respect to terrorism. And I think you may find this an interesting way to begin. I recently have come back from Libya, where the Gaddafi Foundation that's run by Saif Gaddafi, Gaddafi's son, invited me to go for a week to spend a week in Tripoli interviewing released terrorists from the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group that Libya had rehabilitated. They rehabilitated these terrorists through a program involving dialogue, and we could talk about that maybe in Q&A or afterwards if you want to know some of the details of the actual program with the prisoners. But the most important dialogue that occurred didn't occur with the actual prisoners at all. It occurred in 2004, setting up this whole program between Saif Gaddafi and the number 2 leader of the group, both of whom were living in London, oddly enough. The leader of the group was not in prison. Gaddafi's son was living in London. And Gaddafi's son decided that it would be important to try to change this hostile relationship, since, in fact, the group is dedicated to assassinating him, his family, and his father, and overturning and toppling the Libyan government, ... And so he asked to meet and have a dialogue with this number 2. And they did. And I spent 2 hours talking to the number 2 about this. You'll see I'm going to tell you about a website. If you want to listen to the interview, you'll be able to listen to it on a streaming audio. And it's really quite fascinating, because the dialogue was all about essentially a political deal, which is, okay, what we're interested in as a group is reforming Libyan politics, and if you will help us get a TV show on Libyan television, which has now aired 16 times in Tripoli every Tuesday night from 9 to 11, modeled on BBC's Question Time, where he, the actual number 2 leader, gets to bring on mid-level government officials and essentially grill them about why they're not providing the kind of social services they're supposed to be providing, and essentially embarrassing them into reform. If you will do this, then at least I, the number 1 leader here, did not go along. Okay, I will help you reform the members I brought into the group, which he then did over the next few years. That is at least a step in that direction of using dialogue to actually change. So the Libyan government has released 44 members of this group, okay, who had been in prison for going to be the rest of their lives for trying to kill Gaddafi's family, ... And they've done the TV show. And in fact, it is actually an example of dialogue moving things in the right direction. So I very much believe that dialogue has a role, and a powerful role, with respect to terrorism. And I've seen at least one instance of it work quite importantly. But let me talk about the main topic, suicide terrorism, that I came to talk about. Suicide terrorism has been rising around the world, but there's great confusion about why. Since many of the attacks, including 9/11, have been perpetrated by Muslim suicide terrorists, many have presumed that Islamic fundamentalism must be the obvious central cause. And this presumption has fueled the belief that future 9/11s can be avoided only by wholesale transformation of Muslim societies, which was a core reason for broad public support, both for our invasion of Iraq and for the escalation in troops we've just done in Afghanistan. However, this presumed connection between suicide terrorism and Islamic fundamentalism is misleading, and it has been encouraging domestic and foreign policies likely to worsen our situation. Over the last few years, I've compiled the first complete database of all suicide terrorist attacks around the world from 1980. First, we did the database up to 2001, then to 2003. Now we have it up through the middle of 2009, and you'll see we're going to bring it up to date very, very soon. The database defines a suicide attack in the classic sense you would expect when I use that term, of an individual killing himself or herself, on a mission to kill others. And it is, as you'll see, has a lot of data, and I'll go into the data in just a moment. But one of the things you may find kind of bizarre, I just said it's the first. Well, when I first compiled this database, just after 9/11, at that point, I knew that, well, Israel had a database of who was attacking Israel, and I knew some other governments had tracked this a little bit. What I didn't really know until I actually dug into it is that no one had actually created a comprehensive database. And in fact, soon after I published the first version, our Department of Defense contacted me. And they were one of the big funders of the update and expansion of this database, and you'll see that's actually quite amazing because they funded this numerous times, and you'll see it's even more amazing once you see what the conclusions are from the patterns, that it's had this much support from our government. But not only the government, but